Today we're going to take a look at the process of planting up our hanging baskets for our retail garden center. Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings, and everything has to start at the beginning, and that's actually what's happening here today. The girls are out here in the greenhouse filling up our 10-inch planters along with our 12-inch hanging baskets, getting them ready for tomorrow when our annuals come in. So this past winter, Dawn and I, our garden center manager, we took a little bit of time going through a whole bunch of different catalogs and recipe guides, just trying to plan out what we wanted to do in our hanging baskets in our containers for this year. It's not just a quick, oh, this is pretty, this is pretty, this is pretty type of thing. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. First off, we take a look at what sold the prior year. Obviously, hanging baskets that sold out right away or sold out in full, we know that those were good baskets to bring back again this year. A lot of times there are those baskets or combinations that just don't do as well as others, and that gives us a great opportunity for adding in fresh new things. Also, too, with having so many new annuals introduced here in 2025, it lets us incorporate some of those new annuals into our baskets and our planters as well. So let's go ahead and take a look. The girls are working on Flow today. Flow is our flat filling machine. This is one of our original flat filling machines. It's a little old at this point, not quite as efficient as our flat filling machine, but it definitely does get the job done and gets the job done a lot cleaner than what it used to when we would just take rakes or shovels and pile the dirt into the pots. This machine does all that work for us. So we're going to take a look here at the back end of the machine to start with. So at the back end of the machine, the hanging baskets are placed onto the conveyor belt system, where they then make their way underneath the hopper that drops the soil into the baskets. As they come out the back side, the soil is in the baskets. And with this being the older machine, like I mentioned, it's not quite as efficient as the new one. So we do have to have a couple people that are packing the soil in just a little bit tighter than what this machine can do for us. Still go quite a bit faster than what it did in years past. It's a really exciting day today. The first shipment of our Proven Winner annuals has arrived. This really signifies kind of the kickoff to the season. And this year being the 2025 season, there are so many fun new annuals that we can't wait to introduce to you. Now that the little babies have been delivered, there's a lot of teams that are going to be getting on these plants and doing all the things that need to be done before they head out into the greenhouses to be planted up. So this shipment here actually consists of annuals that are for our hanging basket and our containers, as mentioned, and then also pretty much what's left over from the hanging baskets and containers will get planted into the 4.5-inch pots. Also in today's shipment, there's a lot of the plants that are a little bit slower growing or take a little bit longer to get established. With what our goal is for these annuals is for these first round plantings to be ready by our first ship week of the season, which is March 24th. So this is just one of many shipments of annuals that will get dropped off to us. What we do when we're planting is we kind of stagger plant. So we obviously don't want all the annuals to be ready in the exact same week because we don't ship all of our plants out all in the same week. So every week for the next probably month and a half, we're going to be having annuals brought into us to get planted. It's so pretty to see the plants, what they look like. I mean, look at these beautiful little plugs, excellent root system. This one here that I grabbed out actually is a Superbena called Violet Ice. And this is a really nicely rooted plant. What we might have to do, depending on the variety, is come through and do a little bit of trimming. So as these head out to the team to get planted, they may do a trim on them, kind of cutting the plant in about half. The reason why we do that is if we go ahead and plant this and it's got these long kind of wingers on it, it's going to also create a very leggy plant. Where if we can get a little trim on this plant, it's going to encourage branching, and branching results in a fuller, thicker plant with more flowers. And obviously that's the goal. We want you to have a nice, full, thick plant that has lots of flowers on it. It's so fun to just walk through and to see all these different foliage textures. We've got some begonias here, nice tuberous begonias. This is actually the nonstop red. We've got ornamental grasses. You can see the grasses come in a little bit bigger size plug. This would be a purple fountain grass, nice starter size. Some vine. This is kind of what the vine looks like to start off with. So all of these plants, I think I heard the inventory girls just talking, and we've got different numbers on the different racks that were rolled in here. So these are already kind of divided out by the plants that are going to head directly out to the greenhouse for to be directly potted and set down in the greenhouse. And then there's other racks that are sorted out that are going to head out to the garden center to be planted up into the hanging baskets. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the next steps are with these plants now that they just arrived off the truck. So I have Alyssa here with me today, and we're going to have her describe what she does once these plugs come in. We don't want to bring these out into the greenhouses until they've been inspected, and she is the one that's going to inspect them for any possible bugs or diseases on these plants. If she finds any, then we report them back to 4-Star, which is our proven winner plug supplier, and just let them know that there may be some issues on the plants. So we're going to let Alyssa go ahead and describe what she does.
Okay, so usually when we get in the new little plugs, they're pretty clean, but we just like to make sure there's no spider mites, thrips, or any diseases or anything, so they don't transfer to everything else in the greenhouse. So I'll usually just kind of look at the leaves, physically inspect them, and then I'll often take the leaves and kind of shake them over a white piece of paper, and then that way you can see any of the bugs more clearly if there are any. And then if I see something that's a little funky, I'll use the little magnifying glass, I guess, and just see what's going on. And then we'll see if we need to get any more beneficial insects in to kind of control any problems, or we'll just take the problem back to the source of it.
Now that Alyssa's done inspecting all of these plants for any potential bugs or diseases, which it seems like everything was looking pretty clean. She just showed you a little bit of what she does, but she's gone through and inspected all of these. So they're getting a A for the report card for nice plants. The next thing that happens is Jen will go through and do inventory. So Jen is our inventory manager, and I'm going to let her explain what her process is before these head out to the greenhouse.
So each week when we get our plants in, we check to make sure we received everything that we ordered, and we sort them out by the different greenhouses that they'll be planted into. We also sort through the tags to get everything in order. That helps the planting team follow their list so that all the pots are in order along with all the plants and tags, so they have everything that they need. The process really starts with stickering the pots, which you may have seen in another video, but those pots are in the same order that we'll be putting these plants in. So we check for quality too, in addition to the bugs that Alyssa already checked for. But some plants we may need to trim, some plants are fine as they are. So I haven't even really had a chance to look through these yet, but we'll be taking them off to the greenhouse and we'll start getting them sorted out.
So I'm out in the garden center right now, and our garden center team has our hanging baskets, which are a 12-inch size, along with some 10-inch planters laid out throughout the whole garden center here. And the reason why we do this is it's a lot easier to plant hanging baskets on the tables. So that's the number one reason. The number two reason is we will leave these in here for about 4 to 6 weeks or so, let them put on some growth, and then we'll come through and trim the plants, because we like to we talk about trimming a lot. We like to come through and trim all the hanging baskets just back a little bit. That will give them the ability to branch out more and fill out more. So that way when they're ready to be sold here in the garden center in spring when we open, there'll be a nice filled out basket or planter. So right now the girls are going through with the plugs and dividing them all out based off of the recipe. So most of these container combinations have 3, sometimes 4 different varieties in each of them. So they're separating them, pulling them out of the trays. That way when they get brought up to each table, it's a lot quicker and easier for the girls to go ahead and plant. So I'm going to go ahead and actually plant up 3 different combinations that we have out here right now. I want to show you how many plants go into each pot, and then just pop up a picture of what this will look like as it's all filled out this spring. So let's go ahead and get our hands in the dirt. So the first combination I'm going to show you, it's called Berry Romance. And in it, it has the Air Romance Mulberry Nemesia. It has the Super Bells Yellow. And then it has the Super Tunia Mini Vista Indigo. So a nice mix of purple and yellows. If you know me, you know I'm kind of a purple girl. I love my purple plants. And so I think this one is going to be a really pretty combination. So when we're planting up the hanging baskets, again, it depends on the recipe, but for most of them, we're going to have 6 plants in each basket. So when we're planting these up, we're going to stagger where they go. So we're going to start off here with the Air Romance mulberries, and we're going to do 1 of each of these, and they're going to get planted across from each other. Next, we've got our 2 Super Bells Yellow, and they also are going to get planted across from each other. As you see, we're kind of creating a circle in this container. Here is our Super Tunia Mini Vista Indigo, again, across from each other. So that's going to create a nice mix of the flowers as they continue to put on growth. So by doing it every other pattern, that's going to let them kind of intermingle and fill out really nicely. Now, if we had a sweet potato vine or a thriller type of a plant in this combination, we would put that in the center of the pot. And then especially with a sweet potato vine, that way it can work its way in all directions. But with this being the petunias, the Super Bells, and the Nemesia, they kind of all play nicely, and I don't have to be too specific about putting one in the middle to let it creep its way out. So I think this is going to be a really cool combination using a lot of our more popular plant varieties. This next combination is kind of unique, and this is going to be the 3rd year that we've grown this one. The first year we grew it, it was the first one to sell out. So we knew the next year we needed to plant more up. So this combination here is called Night on the Town. And basically what it consists of is the wire vine, the apricot tuberous begonia, the illumination series, and then the dichondra silver falls. So in this planter, it's going to have a lot of draping over type plants. And with this one, we're using 5 different plants. So let me show you the layout on how we're going to do this. So we're going to take the wire vine, and this little guy is going to go right in the center. Because the wire vine is one of those nice trailing plants that fills in, it's going to make its way in all directions as it hangs over. Next, we've got 2 of the dichondra silver falls, which are also a great plant that's going to trail over. Now, these 2 could be planted in the center of this pot, but because we already have the wire vine in the center, we're going to kind of go off to the edges with these. So we're going to just tuck them in there like so. And then on either edge, we've got the illumination begonias, and these will kind of go opposite of the wire vine. Tucking them in like that. So this is going to fill out nicely, and it is a gorgeous mix, especially if you like to have a lot of different color at the top with fun trailing over type plants. This is a really neat textural hanging basket. Now you might also be wondering, what are these little sachets or lollipop looking things that go into the hanging baskets? So each one of these sachets holds biological or beneficial bugs. We put these in when we plant as kind of a protection for the plants, so that if by chance any bad bugs were to get into the greenhouse, the good bugs that live inside these sachets will go after the bad bugs and eat them and keep our plants very clean. So this is something new that we are doing. This is our third year actually doing it. And Alyssa, as you saw earlier, she was going through checking for any bad bugs that might have come in on the stock. And then this is what we put in for preventative measures to keep everything looking good. So as I just mentioned, we were going to let these grow for a few weeks here in the garden center, give them a light trim, and then hang them out in the greenhouse. So when we go and bring them out into the greenhouse, we're going to replace this sachet, as this lasts about 4 to 6 weeks or so before you have to bring in some new beneficial bugs. So these will all be replaced before they get hung up in the ceiling. The one nice thing with these is when the baskets are up in the ceiling, it's harder to monitor if there's any issues going on. So by having this in there, this has really been awfully nice because it's keeping those baskets looking good. So when we bring them down in the spring, it's not like, they've got aphids or something like that. This is keeping these plants really nice and clean. So this one is the Night on the Town, and one of our top selling, fastest selling combinations. So this combination we're calling Tiara Sparkles, and I wanted to show you before they get planted, this is what they do. They pull all the plugs and throw them in a pot along with the tag, so we know which plugs are in each container. So this one has the Tiara Pink, which is a new petunia variety for 2025. Also, we're planting with that the Tiara Blue, which is another new variety for 2025. And then just to soften this look a little bit, we're putting in the White Knight Lobularia. So this is going to add just kind of a nice, whimsy, smaller type of flower form into these hanging baskets. So for this one, the recipe is a little bit different, and I want to explain to you why. So in here, we are putting just one of the Tiara Pink, and that's going to get planted in the center. We're putting in 2 of the Tiara Blue, and they're going to go on either side. And then also 2 of the Lobularia White Knight, which will fill in these side pockets. So you may be wondering, why did we only do 1 of the Tiara Pink and 2 of the Tiara Blue? Well, last year from our experience with growing these as sample plants, we noticed that the Tiara Pink was a lot more vigorous than the Tiara Blue. Both of them had excellent vigor, but we knew when we planted up our hanging baskets this year that we probably wanted to do a 2-to-1 ratio so that the Tiara Pink wouldn't just take over the entire basket. Now, this is a trial. We're hoping what we have going here works, but realistically, by planting 2 purple to 1 pink, it should be a pretty even color combination. And then 2 of the White Knight Lobularia, that should be good as well. Those will just kind of fill in between the petunias, just poking little pops of white in these hanging baskets. So we'll keep you updated on how all of these baskets are doing in about 4 weeks or so once they start filling out and perhaps putting on a little bit of color. But for now, we are definitely excited to get our hands in the dirt, get a little dirty, and kick off the spring season. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. If you have a container combination or hanging basket that you grew last year that you thought looked really spectacular, email us at sales@gardencrossings.com. I would love to feature your planters on our social media pages. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.